Well, just as I was about to start recording today, we got the news that Trump was found liable in civil court in New York for sexually abusing E.G. and Carroll and for defamation in relation to that. And because this is all kind of breaking now, we'll just look at it together and walk through this. This is from NBC News. A New York jury on Tuesday found former President Donald Trump liable for sexually abusing writer E.G. Carroll in a Manhattan department store in the 1990s, but not liable for her alleged rape. The jury awarded her $5 million in damages for her battery and defamation claims. Asked on their verdict sheet if Carroll, 79, had proven by a preponderance of the evidence that Mr. Trump raped Miss Carroll, the 9-person jury checked the box that said no. Asked if Carroll had proven by a preponderance of the evidence that Mr. Trump sexually abused Miss Carroll, the jury checked the box that said yes. Both allegations were elements of Carroll's battery claim. The 6 men and 3 women also found Trump had defamed her by calling her claims a hoax and a con job. And then here's this being reported as well.
Question 1, did Mr. Trump rape Miss Carroll? The jury voted no. On the question of did Mr. Trump sexually abuse Miss Carroll? Yes, the jury said. Moving down to question 4, Miss Carroll was injured as a result of Mr. Trump's conduct. The jury said yes, and if yes, inserting an amount of $2 million, a monetary judgment against the former president. Keep in mind, E.G. Carroll's attorneys did not ask for a specific amount of money. They left it to the jury. Moving on to the question, Mr. Trump's conduct was willfully or wantonly negligent, reckless, or done with a conscious disregard of the rights. Yes, the jury said. Now, moving down to the defamation question, there were ultimately 5 questions related to that accusation. Did Ms. Carroll prove by preponderance of the evidence that Mr. Trump's statement was defamatory? The jury said yes, it was. Did Ms. Carroll prove by clear and convincing evidence that Mr. Trump's statement was false? The jury said yes. Mr. Trump made the statements with actual malice. The jury, yes. And then.
Wow. And this previous article we were looking at also noted that the verdict marks the first time a former president has been found civilly liable for sexual misconduct. And then looking at Trump's response, of course, he says in all caps, "I have absolutely no idea who this woman is. The verdict is a disgrace, a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time." And one of the stories I had prepared for today's show that has now become irrelevant because of this verdict was this video that was put together that was just calling out Trump's low character. And one of the conversations I wanted to have around it is about, and by irrelevant, that's still relevant, Trump having low character. But a lot of it was framed around, we don't know yet what the verdict is going to be. And I still want to talk about just, I guess, a reminder to everyone, including myself, not to allow this craziness to become normal, where the party of family values, the Republican Party, is likely going to nominate this guy who's being found liable in civil court for sexually abusing somebody and then lying about it afterwards. That person is going to be likely the nominee of the party of family values. Not to mention, as separate from him as a person, his actions as an elected leader when he was president. Yes, the mismanaging of COVID and all the bad policies, but also the most important part of our democracy, he spit on in attempting to prevent the peaceful transition of power and came up with the alternate electors scheme with the idea that Pence would pretend that actually Trump won and keep him as president despite the fact that he lost, and wanting to throw our democracy into the garbage. And so all of that we've talked about plenty that makes him very unqualified, but also just how absurd and disgusting it is that any party, but when you look at the United States, the most powerful country in the world, we have 2 major parties, and likely the nominee of one of them is going to be this guy who, separate from everything we talk about on a daily basis in terms of, like I said, anti-democratic stuff, policy stuff, he also is just personally a vile person, right? Personally talks about women the way that he does in the Access Hollywood tapes, and personally is being found liable for sexually abusing somebody. And that should not be the nominee of any party, much less it's even more of an oomph whenever you understand the party that will be likely nominating him is constantly talking about how moral their family values are and how they care about all those different things. Often those purported values are their justification to hate on other people, right? Demonize the LGBTQ people because you don't fall within our family values. And then they're down with Trump. He's the man. He's the cult leader who this is who he is. It's pretty wild. And so as I started this, please remember, this is not normal. It's common. It's not normal. And it shouldn't be like, yeah, well, okay, whatever. I mean, that's Trump. All right, well, the anti-democratic guy, the deeply divisive and hateful guy, and the guy who's being found liable of sexually abusing somebody. That's not normal that he should have any shot at all. And we will talk about later in today's show the fact that he has a shot at winning, and that's disturbing. But wow, a moment in history. I'm happy that E. Carroll is getting some form of justice. It's not justice, but some form of financial compensation. And wow, we will see how, I guess, Republicans respond to this. It'll be the same tune that we're constantly hearing.